If you haven't already watched part 1, you can click the card right up here to take you to it, or find it in the description below. Bailey's dead. This is part 2 of our top 10 best ladder decks in Clash Royale. You'll be able to find links to all the decks on this list in the description below. Before we get into the video, I just want to remind everybody that if you can help us get this account to 5,000 subscribers, we're going to do a massive 25 Clash Royale giveaway. So if you're not already, please remember to hit subscribe and become a part of the family. And without further ado, let's get straight into the rest of this list. Coming in at number 5 is the Hog Cycle. This is one of the few decks on this list that aren't one of the classic meta decks in Clash Royale, but really something new, a new contender that has been doing extremely well as of late on the ladder. The main win condition here being obviously the Royal Giant. It's a beautiful cyclable deck that allows you to get a lot of damage out quickly, and also with the average elixir cost being relatively low, enables you to have a good bit of defensive cycle as well. The Goblin Cage, being one of the strongest buildings in the game right now, plays a perfect role here, defending against any of those big win conditions and distracting, getting in the way, and buying you a little bit of time to get back on your cycle offensively. It is lacking in the spells department. Of course, you have the heal and the earthquake, but any offensive spells aren't going to clutch you out games in this deck. You're going to really need to depend on your Royal Giant and anything else surrounding him to get towers down. And so for all those reasons, that's why the Royal Giant cycle makes the number 5 spot on our list. Coming in at number 4 is the 2.9 Hog Cycle. This is a new version of the classic Hog Cycle that you've seen since the dawn of man, and it is a fantastic update to that deck. This is a completely retuned and rethought Hog Cycle that is working really well in the current meta. Of course, your main win condition continues to be the Hog, being cycled with other defensive cards in front of it. In this case, the Knight will be getting in front of your Hog at the bridge or somewhere else, allowing the Hog to have protection against any units or towers that get in its way before it connects. Bomb Tower is so strong right now, and it does a great job defending against any units that might cross into your side, any win conditions that are trying to snipe your towers. It is slightly more expensive than the classic 2.6 Hog Cycle, but what it loses in elixir efficiency, it gains on defense. The Royal Delivery is going to do a great job defending against any air units that cross over, and the bats can be used as well to clean up if there's anything left. And so for all those reasons, that's why the 2.9 Hog Cycle makes the number 4 spot on our list. Coming in at number 3 is Miner Wallbreakers Poison. Miner Poison has always been a very popular combo, but this variation on it is extremely dangerous. Your main win conditions here are obviously going to be the Miner and the Poison, but where things get interesting is the way that you use the Miner. Miner works as a brilliant tank for the bats or the Wallbreakers in this case. If you send a Miner off to distract the Princess Tower and throw in bats behind the Miner or Wallbreakers behind the Miner, you are going to be getting some incredible value out of that push. This deck has a very low elixir cost, and so your defensive cards can be cycled really quickly. Your Spear Goblins are going to be almost always available, as well as the Knight and that Bomb Tower to get in the way of any offensive pushes that your opponent might be making. The name of the game here is to chip out your opponent, and it might be a slow process if you have a good matchup with the Miner and the Poison, but if you have the patience and you can wait it out and push slowly but surely inching your way onto that tower, you have a very high percentage of winning your match. And so for all those reasons, that's why the Miner Wallbreakers Poison makes the number 3 spot on our list. Coming in at the number 2 spot is Tesla Logbait. For all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same as classic Logbait, except the Inferno Tower is switched out for the Tesla. Why this deck makes the number 2 spot is, of course, for its win percentage right now, but also because of the popularity of Hogs recently. There have been a lot of Royal Hogs type cycle decks at the top of the ladder lately, and Tesla Logbait is an incredible counter to that deck. Your main win conditions here are the Goblin Barrel and the Rocket. The reason why this deck is called Logbait is because that's the goal of the deck, to bait out your opponent's log so you can send out your small troops to do a lot of damage all at once. Typically, you want to use one of your small troops to bait out that spell so that you can make a bigger offensive push with your Knight or with something in front of the Goblins to tank for them. If you have a good matchup, your opponent's not going to go down without a fight, so that's what the Rocket is for. It's useful on desperate defensive moments, and also if you need to chip out some damage at the end of a match just to secure that little bit to give you the win, you have the Rocket for that. And so for all those reasons, that's why Tesla Logbait makes the number 2 spot on our list. Before we reveal the number 1 spot, here are some honorable mentions. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Splashyard. This iteration of the Splashyard is probably the most refined and strong that we've ever seen in the entire game. I mean, the defensive potential alone on this deck is absolutely ridiculous. You've got the bomb tower, which will distract big troops, take out little troops, and it has death damage as well, so it's going to do a fantastic job defensively even by itself. But you don't just have that, you also have the Ice Wizard, which is going to slow all of the damage output of everything in your way by a whole bunch. But wait, there's more. You also have the NATO on defense. If you're playing against Logbait, you can pull all of those little goblins straight into your King Tower for King Tower activation, or pull units away from your tower to get them farther away and create even more defensive options. It's just crazy how much you can do defensively with this deck. Your main offensive win condition, of course, is going to be the Graveyard and the Poison. So it's super critical on offensive pushes that you make sure, if possible, that there's a tank out there with the Graveyard. If it isn't enough to have the Barbarian or the Knight in the way, you've also got the Baby D for defensive or offensive potential. The Baby D, the Ice Wiz, and the Bomb Tower are the reason for this deck's namesake, and this deck greatly benefits from that splash radius. Overall, I highly recommend this deck. It does take quite a bit of skill to master, but if you can do so, you're going to have a high percentage win rate deck on your hands. And so for all those reasons, that's why the Splashyard makes the number 1 spot on our list. So there you have it. What did you think of the list? Was there anything that you thought belonged on this top 10? Please let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to leave us a like and hit subscribe for weekly Clash Royale content. And we'll see you next week on Bailey's Dad. Bye-bye.